Knock at the Cabin is a psychological horror film co-written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan based on the novel The Cabin at the End of the World, by Paul G. Tremblay, starring Dave Bautista, Jonathan Groff, Ben Aldridge, and Rupert Grint. It works the audience along with its interesting setup, only to end things with annoyingly ambiguous payoffs. In Pennsylvania, 7-year-old Wen is staying with her parents Eric and Andrew at a remote cabin in the woods. One day, a mysterious stranger named Leonard approaches Wen and explains that he needs the help of both her and her parents to prevent the end of the world. Wen soon notices that Leonard has brought with him 3 other people, each of which are wielding large weapons, and she quickly flees to warn her fathers. A short time later, Leonard and his accomplices break into the cabin and take Wen and her parents hostage, though the quartet insists they mean no harm. The 4 strangers inform the family that they have each been experiencing graphic visions of the apocalypse, and that the only way to stop it from happening is for the family of 3 to make an ultimatum: either destroy one of themselves, or destroy the entire world. Along with most others, I can say that I have a rather mixed opinion on the films of M. Night Shyamalan. There's no doubt the man does have some talent, but when you've had way more misses than hits on your filmmaking resume, you have a tendency to view someone like him as inconsistent and unreliable. Granted, in recent years, it seems Shyamalan is experiencing something of a resurgence, with films like The Visit and Split each being acknowledged as competently made, at least when compared to some of his more derided works. Although I wouldn't consider Knock at the Cabin to be among Shyamalan's very worst, there just isn't enough in it to warrant a recommendation over most of his better movies. Like with virtually all of Shyamalan's films, this one has a high level of intrigue that hooks the audience in almost immediately. After all, it's easy to become invested in a story that involves the fate of the world leaning on one difficult decision. We are informed that each of the 4 strangers come from different walks of life, with nothing in common other than that they are all experiencing their own horrific visions of Armageddon. When the happy family of 3 are then forced to decide what happens next, this is where the film's biggest selling point becomes clear. By showing each character in a sympathetic light, we feel a stronger connection to everybody, and come to a better understanding as to why this predicament affects them all on a personal level. I appreciate the way Shyamalan took the time to develop most of these characters beyond mere plot devices, and made them seem like real people, a concept he has struggled with in previous films. With that in mind though, none of these characters are actually of Shyamalan's creation, as they are adapted from the original author's novel. Even Shyamalan's biggest detractors can agree that the man at least knows how to build suspense in his movies. Regardless of what inevitable twist lays at the end, Shyamalan is a master of stringing the audience along in anticipation for what that big reveal may be. When we see the 4 intruders acting upon some of their threats surrounding the end of the world, you can't help but wonder what apocalyptic event will happen next. Will it be a natural disaster that wipes out millions, or an electrical outage that causes all forms of online communication to cease? I was actually really enjoying the way the film showed the increasing amount of destruction that resulted from every unheeded warning, that is, until it fell apart at the conclusion. Without spoiling the ending, I left this film feeling rather underwhelmed as to how everything was resolved. The final outcome is far too reliant on the assumption that the audience will interpret things in their own unique way, which just seems like lazy writing. Normally, I like films with ambiguous endings, but this one felt too uninspired and predictable for it to leave any notable impact. The film's cast all did a great job, but I think the real standout was Dave Bautista as Leonard. For a former wrestler turned actor, Bautista has definitely come a long way in terms of demonstrating his dramatic range. I was particularly impressed with his scenes that required him to communicate the urgency of acting quickly before more lives are lost in a catastrophic disaster. He delivers his lines with solid emotional weight, and his reserved body language reflects his reluctance to use physical force against the innocent family he is holding captive. Although I think Leonard's profession as an elementary school teacher is a bit of a stretch, his scenes with Wen do at least lend some credibility as to how much he truly cares about the well-being of others. This is easily one of Bautista's best dramatic performances to date, and I would go so far as to call him the best wrestler-actor currently working today. Given the terrible quality of some M. Night Shyamalan films, you could do a whole lot worse than something like Knock at the Cabin. It serves its purpose as an adequate thriller designed to hold your attention until the very end, but like most others it fails to live up to its established expectations. Though I wouldn't rank it as an outright bad movie, there's too much holding it back for me to consider it good in the entertainment sense. I still cannot bring myself to dismiss Shyamalan entirely, as I continue to hold a fondness for his films The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, and Signs, but it has become obvious that his best days are well and truly behind him. After peaking so early in his career, I suppose he has only himself to blame for that.